So we're just going to give everyone a few moments to join the call from the wait room here, and then we'll start the webinar in a couple of minutes. Hello, Annette.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good.
Good.
So we just opened the wait room, Annette, so we have a few of our virtual audience members who are joining the call now. Looks like
Okay.
5 or 6, which is great. So I'll do a quick introduction at the start, and then we'll kind of flip over to our interview with you as our esteemed alumna panelist today, our guest, special guest.
Okay. Hi, Beth.
Hello, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you? Long time no see.
I know, it's going well.
Good.
And we're both matching in our Smith blue today, so that's
I know.
wonderful.
No
I didn't get the
Irish for
memo.
me.
I should have got the memo. Yeah. Okay, so it looks like we have everyone in from the wait room, so we will go ahead and get started with the webinar today. Wanted to begin by just thanking everyone for taking time out of your busy Monday to join us on today's call. We will be discussing the Master of Management, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship, the MMIE program here at Smith School of Business, Queen's University. We're hoping to accomplish a couple of things over the next 35, 40 minutes or so. We want to provide some administrative information about the program, give you a sense for what it looks and feels like from a student perspective, give you some insight into the application process. And we also have Annette joining us from the class of 2024. She completed the program in fall of last year, and she's going to speak a little bit about her experience as well. So lots to get through, but we do appreciate you taking the time, and hopefully you gain some knowledge from the session. So to quickly introduce our program team, my name is Connor McCann, and I'm the Associate Director of the MMIE program, and I focus primarily on recruitment and admissions in my role. And we're always collaborating with the rest of our recruitment team and our marketing department as we look to build out the next intake, the next class cohort for the MMIE, which today is the class of 2026 that we're actively recruiting for, that will start the program this coming August and then graduate in the fall of 2026. I'm joined on the webinar today by Beth McCallum, who is the dedicated application advisor. So I work very closely with her on a daily basis as we process applications and move candidates throughout that process. Beth really partners with the applicants, and she's their advocate and their go-to resource for information as they navigate their way through the application process, which can take a few weeks. Beth, at the end of the presentation, is going to give more of a detailed overview of that process for those of you on the call who are interested in starting your application or have maybe started their application already and are just looking for some more insight. Not on the call with us today, but a couple of individuals who round out our MMIE program team would be James Davis. James is the program manager, so he's effectively the program delivery version of Beth. Just as Beth is there to guide applicants throughout the application process, James takes over the moment that a candidate becomes enrolled in the program, once they've secured and accepted their offer of admission. And then James is really the guiding light for students, their primary contact as they work their way through both the pre-programming modules, everything leading up to the launch of the program, and then the 12-month delivery of the program as well. So James works incredibly closely with all of our students. For those of you who make it to the interview stage of the application process, James does join some of those interviews as well. So if you're applying for the program now and you haven't conducted your interview yet, James very well might join the final interview, so you might get the chance to meet him then. I'm sure that many of you have interacted with Colin Snyder, who's a recruitment advisor. He handles higher level inquiries for the MMIE program, so he might be the first point of contact that many individuals have when they initially reach out to discuss an application or just discuss the various programs that we have within our professional graduate portfolio. So that kind of rounds out our team on the MMIE program side. A couple of quick matters of housekeeping before we get into a bit of a dialogue with Annette. This session will be recorded, so anyone who is on the call with us now, if you're not able to stay right through to the very end, no problem, because we will ensure that you receive a video recording emailed to you directly, likely within a day or so of the completion of the presentation. So keep an eye on your inbox for the recording. We want this session to be as interactive as possible, so please do type in your questions as you think of them. You should see a horizontal bar associated with your Zoom window. and there's a Q&A function on that bar. So if you click the Q&A button, that'll pop up a separate window. You can use that window to type in any questions that you have. You might have general questions about kind of the nuts and bolts of the program that we'll be discussing later on in the presentation. So please type those in. You're also welcome to ask any questions directly to Annette as our alumni support today. So if you have any questions for Annette, type those into the chat and we'll be sure to ask her those questions as well. Type in your questions as you think of them. You don't have to save them for the end of the presentation. If you're like me, you think of a great question and then you forget it 5 minutes later. So please do type it in as you think of it. And Beth will be busy on the background typing out some answers to some of the questions as well that she's able to do so. So I think that sets us up from an administrative standpoint. And at this point, we want to transition over to our chat with Annette. So to quickly introduce Annette, Annette Leclerc is an alumna of the MDPM class of 2024. So she would have started in the summer of 2023 and then graduated in the fall of last year. And that has a couple of things going on. She has a venture that we want to discuss in a little bit more detail, but she's also a lecturer of business at Algonquin College. So as a starting point, Annette, I mean, I wonder if you could just provide more of a detailed bio. And I'm not sure if you wanted to chat a little bit about your venture, Take Care. I did do up a slide here that just has some screen grabs.
Oh, wow.
I'll have this on the background while you talk about just yourself generally, and then Take Care, and then we'll transition more into your experience within the program, if that's okay.
Oh my goodness. Okay, sure. Yeah. Um, all right. So, hi, I'm Annette Leclerc, and Connor just said that I took this program. Feels like it was yesterday. Pretty life-changing for me, and it was fantastic to summarize it in maybe one word. So my background actually is in marketing and professional sales. I got my BCom 100 years ago at Carleton University with a major in marketing. So just for anybody that maybe is, 40 plus, it's a fabulous program to take on, even if you are working full time. I'm also a mom. I have a 9-year-old and 2 dogs. I had 2 dogs, now just one, unfortunately, but I have 2 dogs during the program. So it was a very busy year, but with that, I also teach at Algonquin, like I mentioned. So I'm in the School of Business. I teach 4 classes. I'm what we call partial load. So I teach 4 courses. It's like a contractual full-time kind of thing. And I can get into it later, but I found that I used a lot of my learnings from MMIE into my teaching even, which has been fantastic. I wasn't expecting that synergy, so that was great. But the purpose of going into MMIE for me was I've always been an entrepreneur, from, side hustles to working at startups and things like that as well. And you're welcome to look up my LinkedIn if you like. Something that I had started, a shell of a Shopify store before MMIE, was this business called Take Care, which is really it's a retail venture, but it leads with educating women over 40 about their skin and body care. And it didn't start that way. It actually started with a kind of different positioning, but through what you take in MMIE, which is like you have to do an entire market research, independent study, I validated a market and found that their first desire, their first need was actually skincare. When here I was a former makeup artist from, again, 100 years ago before YouTube. So I'm glad I got an update on the market. So Take Care is actually something that I love what you pulled here. These are some of the downloads that you can get off the site, Connor. We just soft launched it on March 2nd. So after I graduated, I started the development process. It's an e-com event kind of omni-channel experience, but we led with e-com and a virtual tutorial just on March 2nd. And we gathered, I say we, but it's really me, just for caveat, 3 Canadian brands we launched with, and we taught a group of women. It ended up being 20-something that came to the 1-hour call on a Sunday night, completely free. And we walked through the basics of skincare. And really, it was a market that is very interested, but is just not addressed in the current market, according to the research. So takecare.ca was born. It's just my MVP right now, still needs lots of development, but this is where I'd love to shift. I will always have a foot in academia because I'm just a big nerd that way. But this has really been the big movement since MMIE. So does that help, Connor?
That's amazing.
Okay.
So you're at a very exciting point with your business, you know, the development phase, but kind of just getting it off the ground. So obviously, on behalf of everyone associated with the program, we wish you best of luck in the
Yeah, thanks.
coming months. So just kind of meeting our audience where they're at. Many of
Yeah.
them are interested in the MMIE. Their level of understanding will vary considerably. But I wonder, Annette, if you could just rewind a couple of years, like when you first decided that you wanted to pursue graduate level education. Obviously, you would have, like any good entrepreneur, did a survey of the market and kind of understand what programs were out there. So if you could just put yourself back in that mindset, what was it about the MMIE program through the research that you did originally that started to kind of point you towards the fact that this was going to be the right program and the right fit for you?
Yeah, so it's a funny little journey. So I was I was teaching, and actually the college said, why don't you get your master's, because that'll put you in line for full time. And this is back in now 2022, so a while ago. And I went, oh my goodness, no. Instead of, in my mind, a master's meant MBA. And I went, well, that's not really a career goal of mine. I didn't have career objectives to, like that corporate career objective to really want an MBA at the time. And it's a huge undertaking financially. And also it's a different type of program, right? I find it's very academic, and I have a BCom. And so the BCom has a lot of overlay. And in fact, I think that there's MBAs specifically for BCom graduates because of that. So that was not even a thought, but my program director here at the college actually said, well, he got his technology innovation and management at Carleton. And I thought, oh, that's interesting, but not that much because I don't like tech. It's one of those I have to. So I was researching his, and I was like, nope, don't like it. And when I started to learn about these different professional degrees, I found the management one through Queen's. And to be perfectly honest, I wasn't sure. I was like, do I really need it? I mean, as an entrepreneur, you know, you can go the path of just no education whatsoever. I do like education. It wasn't in my plan. However, I said to my husband, you know, it was actually a Lego moment, believe it or not. I love Lego. And I know I'm throwing you a curveball here. You're like, where's she going
I'm
with
excited to see where this analogy is going to go.
this? Please go somewhere, right? But so I just finished building this like bookstore Lego thing. And I said, you know, I really like doing that because I love being creative and building things, but I need structure and guidance, like their creative kits. And I went, oh my God, that's what the MMIE program is, right? You have entrepreneurship, you have creativity, you're expanding your network enormously with the amount of people you meet and minds that you get to know. And so I said, okay, I'll apply. Didn't think I'd get in at all. That was more of a confidence thing. I had been in school forever, just never thought I would. And lo and behold, I got in, and well, here I am now. So that's how I led to it. Plus the university itself, I was quite proud to be like, wow, I'm going to be going to Queen's. Who would have thought? And now that master's degree is right up in my office. You darn right I got it framed, and it's there. So that's what led me to the program.
Incredible, incredible. And I like communicating via analogy as well, Annette, and I have a couple of other analogies for the MMIA program. Beth has heard them all. I talk about the program being a gym. I talk about it being a buffet, but now I'll have to add Lego set to my list of analogies.
Well, the most expensive Lego creator kit you can possibly get.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Incredible. Okay, so that gives us a very clear sense of why you applied for the program, kind of where you were as you embarked on the program. Obviously, you were able to leverage the program through the capstone project and the market research to help you qualify, take care of the venture that you're just getting off the ground now. So that's amazing. Are there any other ways that the program kind of exceeded your expectations? Are there any other ways that you leveraged it? We talk a lot in the interview about managing expectations and making sure that applicants have kind of realistic goals for the program. So, and it's difficult now to maybe do this in retrospect, but when you came into the program, I'm sure you kind of had a list of goals that you were hoping to achieve, some requirements, some expectations of the program. It sounds like you certainly were able to meet those expectations when it came to the development of take care of your own venture. Are there any other ways that the program kind of exceeded other expectations that you have? Are there any ways that maybe the program failed to meet any expectations that you had? Like, was there anything that surprised you about the program?
It's funny because I think I mentioned I went in there because the college put a bug in my ear saying, "Oh, you could go into the running for full time." And it's funny, throughout the program, that idea kind of left my brain. And it was more about the making my idea, which was just an idea when I entered MMIE, really seeing if it could have been a business.
Mhm.
And so, and kind of good, because as we all know what's happening in education right now, no one's hiring full time. I can tell you that. So it's just funny how that happened. But my only reference point was, again, my BCom from 2001. So you do the math on my age. And I was sitting there going, that's how I knew school. I was pleasantly shocked because I was shocked at the support from the professors and the program. So Connor, you weren't there when I was there, but that team was unbelievable. And there's still James and Beth, and like it's just unbelievable. Like James is, if you need something, he's your man. I think it was Advil one day, and he's like, I got it in my pocket. I'm like, oh my, the man's a magician. But the boot camps, and then the ability to go back home and still have, yes, we were asynchronous, but it didn't feel like it's not like we'd stop talking, because you were put in teams. So you met with your team very regularly, once a week at least. You had access to the profs without a problem. Most of them had regular twice a week sessions. So it was the network itself that really surprised me. Again, my reference was a BCom where, you went and sat in this massive theater, and to go and talk to the prof was like, kind of thing. But it was very different, this program. Also, it's very hands-on. It's everything you do has to be real life. You don't always see that in a university setting, right? It wasn't just analyze a whole bunch of case studies and write an exam. It wasn't that at all. It was very, very practical. Anytime I could personally use a project or an assignment to take care, I did. It wasn't all the time, because there were different things that the groups had to do, and other times we took other groups' business ideas. But then there were also individuals, which surprised me. And I just want to mention this because there could be some on the call that had no idea what they wanted to do for what we call our 908, our capstone. And they couldn't figure that out till well after January. And the 908 profs were definitely helping them a lot. And a lot of people pivoted too. They came in with this idea of maybe they were in corporate innovation, and they came in that kind of idea where I'm going to take on a project in my current job, and they left with a business plan for their own business. One actually left with a business partner, and so it might look a little different than you anticipate as you go through, but everything went positive. You asked me if there was any shortcomings. No, there wasn't. Like I really had a pretty open mind. That first boot camp is tiring, I'm not gonna lie. I was about melting into my seat in the last day.
Is that when you
Um,
asked James for the Advil?
yeah, no, I think that was the second actually. But uh during the boot camps, you do want to clear your plate. I'll put that there, okay, from your full-time job. During the boot camps, yes, I think we get that question a lot. Like, can you do this full-time if you have a job? And well, I had a job and a kid and everything, right? And so yeah, so during the boot camps though, if you can, clear your plate, but otherwise very manageable. Yeah, very manageable. Most had full-time jobs, I think. Very few didn't. Very few didn't.
Yeah, and your answer, Annette, spoke to a lot of amazing features of the program that we will get into in more detail with the rest of the presentation after we hop off.
Okay.
Flexible delivery, the boot camp sessions paired with the asynchronous modules, really the ability to make the program your own, and choosing the topics for a lot of the assignments, whether that's a corporate innovation project that you want to focus on through the capstone, whether it's your own venture like yourself, whether it's a social innovation. There is really that flexibility baked directly into the program. The program is so many different things to different people. So just in closing here, Annette, before we let you go, I had an applicant in an interview last week who asked me a tremendous question. I did my
Oh,
best to answer it on the spot, but I feel like someone who's actually been through the program and someone like yourself now has a bit of, a few months of retrospective hindsight, having graduated last fall. The question was, what's the best mindset? What's the best approach that someone can have coming into the program? How can a student put themselves in a position to get the most value out of the experience?
oh, that is a big question, isn't it? And I don't want to answer it with just like, be open-minded. Well, of course,
That's
right?
what I said. That was my answer. Yeah, you got to take it a level above that. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I threw you under the bus there. I really didn't know. Um, you know what was really cool? Can I put it as a cool learning?
Mm.
And that was something that maybe you can go in with. So I don't know how many countries are going to be represented in York, this coming cohort. We had 12, I think, Beth. I'm not sure, something like that, about 12 at least. And we had 80 something overall in terms of the people. It was really interesting that when you're putting teams, so you're putting teams of 8, and people are coming from all over the world, getting their understanding of the projects, the assignments, there's assumptions that depending on your IQ, we call it cultural IQ, you learn so much about people's points of view on certain and takes on certain things that you could have never learned if you didn't meet and work with that person. There's no way, right? Like here I am sitting in Ottawa, okay? Grew up mostly here, but also moved a bit as a military brat. But I'll just give a quick example, Connor. We were working on a project on food insecurity, and it was through the engineering with Jim McCullen, the engineering design thinking course. And we had to look at the system of food insecurity, et cetera, and all this. And we had to pick a region that we were going to illustrate the system and how it works for addressing food insecurity. And we had an individual from Iran, an individual from Ghana, an individual from, I think he was Turkey. I can't exactly remember. But anyway, and the rest were Toronto and Canada. And I actually worked at a food bank for years here. And we just dove in and started talking about it. And the guy from Iran said, so let me just ask, because I'm a bit confused. So does Canada have the problem of that we can't get enough food into the country, like wheat, etc.? And we all stopped and went, whoa. Like that wouldn't have even been a consideration. Wouldn't even have enough food. I said, no, we have too much going to the wrong areas. We have so much waste. And he was appalled. And he had a completely different lens coming in on the system that he thought was the system, right? So those kinds of learns and perspectives. Another one, I won't go into it, but another individual, she actually was having really issues getting applying for jobs because where she was from, you still walked in with a resume versus here. So I think those kinds of learnings, if you're being open to working with people from all over, you're going to learn so much and you can make much smarter decisions.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I mean, we talk about the diversity in the program quite a lot, but it's not just diversity for diversity's sake. It's really diversity
No.
that we can put groups of students together to learn from and work with individuals who have cultural backgrounds, educational experiences, professional experiences, so much different than their own. Because honestly, that's probably where the most enriching learning happens. Obviously we deliver a lot of content, a lot of information to the students unilaterally, and they apply it to different business related examples, capstone simulations, what have you. But to kind of understand the topics and these themes around entrepreneurship and innovation through the perspectives and experiences of someone very different than yourself, I think that's at the end of the day probably the most powerful value proposition of the program. So I'm just really glad that you mentioned that specifically.
Oh yeah, and I loved him, but he was the most opposite to me in details, and he was an IT manager from anyway, it was totally different perspective, but we ended up bonding because he didn't know how PD days worked in Canada for kids. And so he tried to bring his kid to the school bus and I taught him, no. But yeah, so lots of good examples. So that's something, like keeping an open mind about that and understanding that everyone's coming from a different way of studying, and way of living. That's a big one.
For sure. Awesome. So I told you, Annette, that we would only take about 25 minutes of your time. So time always flies when you're having fun. And I really enjoyed the dialogue. We didn't have any questions from anyone in the virtual audience.
Okay.
But would you be open if people were to reach out to you on LinkedIn if they kind of think
Oh, sure.
over the coming weeks? Would that be okay?
Yeah, I'm pretty used to it. I because I teach at the college, I have a lot of students on my LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me. It's not a problem. I'd rather that than kind of email because my email is I have a bunch of different ones, obviously. I'm trying to narrow those down. But no problem. I'm teaching e-commerce in a few minutes, so that works out.
Amazing. Well, thanks again for the time. And Ed, I'm sure that some people in the virtual audience will take you up on that kind of offer and reach out on LinkedIn.
All right, and good luck with the rest of the call. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks again, Annette. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so now we're going to pick up on a few different threads that we started in that dialogue with Annette and just talking about some of the ins and outs of the program delivery. So at a high level, what will you learn in the MMIE program? To a certain extent, this question can be difficult to answer because, as we discussed with Annette, the program means different things for different students. Students come in with a very wide array of different goals, things that they're trying to achieve. But if you were to boil down the program experience for everyone into a few different bullet points, this is probably broad strokes what most people would get out of the program and kind of how we can convey it in a webinar like today. So we teach students how to lead innovation. So whether that's a corporate innovation, whether that is an innovation in the form of a new business or a startup, or whether that's a social innovation, the common theme there being innovation. So we teach students how to innovate and how to lead innovation across many different contexts. Annette also mentioned how she was able to leverage the program to identify and qualify a market opportunity for take care, how oftentimes when it comes to people's regimens with their own bodies, it's skincare is kind of top of mind. So she was able to identify and through market research quantify that opportunity. So we do provide students with that analytical ability. So you might have the best idea in the world, but you need to support that through research and through quantitative analysis before you would actually want to invest in it any further. So we do provide that analytical, that quantitative approach to innovation as well. And then once an innovation has been started, and that's at this point right now where she just launched her business, how do you go from 0 to 1? So how do you go from an idea to the launch of an idea? And then how do you go from 1 to 1,000,000? How do you scale that venture? How do you manage that innovation on an ongoing daily, monthly, yearly basis? So in that sense, the program is very much cradle to grave, how you identify opportunities for innovation across multiple contexts, and then how you actually manage that on a daily basis and scale projects and initiatives over their lifetime. So it's difficult to put entrepreneurs and creative students in boxes, but I think it is also informative and illustrative to see the categories of interest that students have coming in to the program. Again, not putting anyone in a box. And like Annette, many students leverage the program in a couple of different capacities. So for her, it was an opportunity to go from 0 to 1 with her own venture, but also to broaden and deepen her understanding of entrepreneurship and innovation in academic context so that she could apply that to her lecturing role at Algonquin College. So oftentimes it's not students coming in just wanting to be an entrepreneur, just wanting to be a social innovator. Oftentimes they kind of spread across multiple categories, but at high level, I think these 4 categories are just illustrative in how they show the broad types of interests and drives that students have coming into the program. So MMIE, true to its name, is very much a program for entrepreneurs. So if you have a startup or a small business and you're looking to scale that or accelerate that business, the program can act as a great incubator for that. If you have just an idea for a business and you really want to qualify that idea, go from 0 to 1, the program can be a great conduit for that as well. If you're someone who's more interested in corporate innovation or intrapreneurship, you might work for a big bank, a big organization, a big company, and you want to identify opportunities for innovation within that pre-existing organizational structure, the program can be leveraged in that capacity as well. Social innovation is another great use case for the MMIE program. There might be an area that you're passionate about, whether it's minority rights or women's rights or the environment, or just something that you want to see change enacted around within society. You can certainly leverage the program around that capacity or motivation as well. The fourth category, adventurers, and Annette talked to this, how she had some people on her team and who she met across the program who didn't have a very clear idea of what they wanted to do coming into the program, but they just knew that they were passionate about innovation, they were creative thinkers, and they really wanted the opportunity to work and collaborate with a class and a team of like-minded individuals, and how through that experience they would probably get inspired to chase down something. So that's where this category of adventurers comes in. I mean, you can have a very clear idea of how you want to leverage the program and what your journey will look like as you embark upon the journey. Or you might be someone who just broadly is passionate about innovation, and you really want to use the program to kind of help you find your way in taking that next professional step. So the program is set up for individuals like that as well. So a lot of diversity, not only in country of origin and cultural background and education and professional experience, but also a lot of diversity and motivation, why people are taking the program in the first place. So that just creates an environment that's great to learn from people on your team, people in your class, probably as much as you learn from the faculty and the content that we deliver within the program. So key success drivers for the MMIE program: customization, and we've talked about this already, how the program is different things to different students depending on what their backgrounds are and what their motivations are for taking the program. So we do carve out that flexibility within the curriculum and within the delivery model of the program as well. We really want to integrate theory and practice. So we like to position this program at the intersection of academic thought leadership and practical skill development, where we want to provide students with models, frameworks, theories around innovation and entrepreneurship that come from research, but we all want to provide that information in a way that students can then apply it to real world examples, whether it's their own innovation, a corporate innovation, or kind of an idea for a startup. So it's all about taking knowledge and applying it. That's really the dynamic that we try to implement within the program. The program has a strong coaching model. So because the class size is relatively small, oftentimes professors take on more of a coaching role, where they're there to give feedback and really engage in dialogue with students over the duration of their courses or the entire duration of the program. We have team coaches who work with our students and help them really achieve a baseline of best practices when it comes to the teamwork that they'll be doing over the duration of the program. And then the team coaches are also there to intervene if there's ever an issue or a conflict that arises within teams. We have the ability to help mediate those situations by our team coaches. We also assign project advisors. So the last third of the program, we really start to focus primarily on 908, as Annette referred to it by, the capstone. And we provide each student with their own project advisor to help them navigate the culminating capstone for the MMIE program. So a lot of coaching and advisory services are available across a couple of different domains within the program. And we've already talked about the diversity. We are very intentional with our recruitment efforts when it comes to maximizing the diversity of the program, because of all that benefit that imbues on students within the program. So the MMIE program is delivered in partnership between the Smith School of Business and the Smith School of Engineering. So because the program does reside within the broader Queen's University, there are some resources that are available to MMIE students that are specifically relevant to people who are motivated or interested in innovation specifically. So we have the Dun & Despondé Innovation Center that's physically located on campus here in Kingston, and all MMIE students will spend at least a month in Kingston over the duration of the program. So you certainly have the ability to engage with some of these resources and services. There are incubators, there are accelerators that are available through the Dun & Despondé Center, and then a whole collection of services specifically offered to women in entrepreneurship. So these services and these resources are optional, but they certainly are on the table for students who are interested in engaging with these resources and really benefiting more specifically by what we have to offer more broadly across the university. And then again, because there is that partnership between the Smith School of Business and Smith engineering. There are even additional resources, centers, services that are available to MMI students. Some of them are listed on the screen here. So MMI students do get results, and it can be hard to quantify the impact of MMI students, again, because so many different students are looking to leverage the program in different ways, and there's lots of different ways that students would actually quantify their success within the program. But across a few different areas, you can see that MMI alumni do get results, and I think Annette is a great example of that, as someone who came in with an idea for a venture and then fast forward 18 months and she's actually just launched that venture. So we have launched roughly 140 startups over the last 5 or 6 years directly out of the program. On the corporate innovation side, we've seen our alumni achieve over 100 promotions. So those would be students who are more interested in driving innovation within a pre-existing organizational structure. And then when it comes to the funding that our students and alumni have received, over $5 million in different stages of funding for innovations and for small businesses and startups as well. So MMI students do get results. But again, the exact way that a student would kind of quantify their own success within the program and quantifying their own return on investment would really depend on what they're hoping to get out of the experience. And that's something that we talk about a lot within the application process. So the program format here, just a couple of notes on the delivery model. So the program can be taken virtually from anywhere within the world. We do have this hybrid delivery model where we have 3 on-site sessions in Kingston, 2-week session in August, a week-long session in December, and a week-long session in May. So there is an expectation that students are physically available for those 3 sessions, that they participate in those sessions in person in a full-time capacity here on Queen's campus in Kingston, Ontario. But between those 3 bootcamp sessions, that's where the flexibility comes in the asynchronous delivery model that Annette referred to. So between the sessions, students can be living outside of Kingston in Canada, or they can be living anywhere around the world. The content that they work their way through predominantly is delivered asynchronously during these components. So you can log on to the student portal, access the material, and work your way through it according to your own schedule. The program also does provide students the flexibility to work full-time between those bootcamp sessions when we are in one of those asynchronous delivery modules. So that's where the flexibility comes in as well. It's important to note, and Annette actually spoke to this point specifically, that when we're not in session, the program still provides a tremendous amount of support, whether it's James there to provide administrative support for any questions that students have. Faculty make themselves available as well. So many faculty will host virtual office hours, so students can hop on a call with a faculty member if they want to discuss a content or a model or a piece of information that was delivered by that faculty member. The coaching resources, the project advisors are all accessed virtually as well. So you will conduct live virtual meetings with those various coaches and advisors. So while the program is asynchronous, we want to maximize the flexibility. We still want to ensure that each and every student has the support they need when they need it. And we have developed all that support and embedded it within the delivery model as well. So hopefully at this point, some of you have been convinced that you would like to proceed with your application to the program. We are coming towards the deadline for international application, so it's a good time to be thinking about an application, especially if you're interested in the class of 2026, the August 2025 intake. So to chat a little bit more about the application process and what that entails, I'll pass it over to Beth.
Thanks, Connor, and thanks to everyone for joining us today. So yeah, my role as an application advisor is really to work with you one-on-one through the application process. So rather than using a portal system, you'll actually submit your application documents to me directly. You'll be able to ask me questions, we can chat through anything. So it's a really engaging application process. To get started with a preliminary assessment, really all that you need is your resume and unofficial transcript. So what that lets me do is just take a look and see if you kind of meet the criteria that we're looking for in our students. And then if you are invited forward, we'd move forward with some next steps, CURA assessment, statement of purpose, references, and then an interview. So while it may seem like a lot of items, it really can happen quickly. Some applicants move through the processes as quickly as 2 weeks. It really just does depend on how quickly you're able to engage and send those over. The interview process, so that would be with Connor typically, and that would really be more of a discussion around your goals for the program, really speaking to what your interests are, your passions, making sure that really does come through. And then also just chatting about your team experience, team environment, kind of work style, just to make sure that you would be a good collaborator in the team-based environment. My email is on the screen, so if you have questions, maybe you're not ready to formally apply yet, but you want to ask me something, please do feel free to reach out. My name with a period in between, and then at queensy.ca. Awesome. And then the admission requirements. So we are looking for, on average, about 2 years of work experience, but for some candidates, we'd be willing to move you forward as a direct entry candidate from your undergraduate degree. With the degree, it doesn't have to be in any specific discipline. Often people may think that they need a business degree to take this program. You do not. We get quite a wide range of undergraduate disciplines. So don't self-select out just because you don't have a business degree. Innovation and entrepreneurship are what we're looking for, though. We really do want to see that you have an interest and passion in that area, and that you're really going to kind of bring that to light throughout the design of the program. In terms of the soft skills that we're looking for, of course, strong communication skills, ability to execute, and then again, that passion for change, really being passionate about what it is that you want to bring to light throughout the program. Thriving in a diverse environment, as we chatted about earlier in the presentation, it's a very diverse cohort, so just making sure that you're able to really embrace that and learn everything that you can from that style. And then, of course, being an effective and supportive team member. As you are in a team for the duration of the program, it's really important that you do have skills in that area. So that kind of concludes the admission requirements, and then I think we'll turn it over for any questions that anyone has.
Thank you, Beth. So there is a QR code on the screen here. If you were to scan that code, that will bring you to the form for a consultation. So if you're interested in connecting with someone from our recruitment team to talk about the program within the context of your specific experiences, please do scan that code and submit the online form. Beth, I know that you've been busy in the background typing out some answers to questions, so I appreciate that. We do have a question here from Flavian that I'll address now. So Flavian is asking whether the program has any support models with Y Combinator or other VC firms. So the MMI program is partnered with different incubators and accelerators located in Toronto specifically. We are looking into a potential field trip to Toronto during one of the 3 bootcamp sessions where students can get a tour of some of these accelerators or incubators. We might even do a bit of a pitch competition at one of them. So that's something that certainly is in the works. And oftentimes those accelerators or incubators do have different funding arms associated with them. So angel investing, growth investing as well. So by being in the program, students certainly have access to the accelerators, the incubators, and the funding opportunities available through our network. So thanks for that question, Flavian. Any other questions here? I'll maybe give a few moments for anyone to type in any other questions that they have. In closing here, I will mention that it's always our advice for candidates not to self-select out of the process. If you are intrigued by some of what's been discussed today, if you think that the MMIE program could be a good fit for you, at the very least, please do reach out and engage with us by scheduling a call using the QR code or by reaching out to Beth directly. You might have reservations about your undergraduate GPA or about your requisite work experience. Don't self-select out of the process. We might be able to point you towards another program in the portfolio that's better suited, or Beth would even be happy to maybe give you some advice steps that you can take over the next 2 or 3 years to put yourself in a position to qualify for a future intake of the program. So again, if you're interested, please don't make the determination for yourself as to whether or not you qualify or would be a good candidate for the program. We'd be happy to engage in a dialogue with you. So I don't see any other questions in the chat here, Beth. So I think we will go ahead and sign off. I just wanted to thank you again, Beth, for supporting the webinar today. We thank Annette as well for taking the time to join as our alumnus guest. And obviously, thanks to everyone in the virtual audience who stuck through to the end of the presentation. We hope to hear from you in different forms going forward. So thanks again and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.